Namaste Krishna Rao garu. Welcome you to IYR Talks for the first week ended April 2024. And before that, I want to convey our best wishes for the new year, Krodinama Samvatsara Ugadi. With that, I got one particular issue this week because it is little disturbing, and of course it's common every time the elections are there, the opposition party in power making allegations against the chief electoral officer, not only chief electoral officer but also the CS, DGP and other officers at the district level who are supporting the party in power. So recently we have seen Chandrababu Naidu, Telugudesam party writing, and then the election commission asking them to change the 3 district collectors and superintendent of police and all that. So this sort of thing, personally I feel bring a sort of demorale in the officers who are really upright. I don't say about other officers who are doing the in hand with the local government in rule. What could be your view, if every time the elections come, this sort of things, to stop this nuisance, what could be a better option? Can you just elucidate on that?
I think today, especially at the election times, the plight of the officers is unenviable. I mean, it's very, very bad situation because you will have to take decisions. Your decisions will either alienate this party or other party, or will result in some good for someone, some bad for. So whoever is affected start crying, you have been partisan. So there's no way you can justify that. So this is one aspect to it. But more importantly, Election Commission could have managed these issues much better if only they apply themselves on 2-3 things. First of all, the most crucial officer after elections are declared are not even CS and DGP. It is the Chief Electoral Officer. If you post a person from other cadre than the cadre where the elections are happening, that too a non-Telugu to Andhra, similarly a non-Kannadiga to Karnataka, then 90% of these issues will get sorted out on their own. Because then you can't accuse him of any bias. He has not worked with any of these officers, chief ministers earlier. He does not belong to the cadre, so he need not have to oblige who is going to tomorrow get elected and what is my fate after they get elections. So he can be impartial. Once the CAO is impartial, everything else will fall in line. In fact, it's good for the officers also, because I have seen whoever worked as a CAO in Andhra Pradesh, one way or the other suffered after the elections were over. 2009, my own batchmate Subbarao was the CAO. Somehow then there was no YSRCP, it was the Congress, Rajshekhar Reddy's period. They carried an impression that his actions benefited TDP. So the day they came back to power, 2009, he was sidelined. As recently as 2017-18, somewhere around that, Chandrababu Naidu garu was going hammer and tongs against the then CEO, Panwarlal. So why should the officers suffer by being there? So if he is an outsider, there's no way any of them can say anything. He will come for a tenure post of 3 years, 5 years and then go. So this is one change. If it is brought about, it will have a tremendous effect as far as impartially conducting the elections is concerned. It's good for the officer as well as for the system.
And there is also an important news item that the Kerala government has gone to Supreme Court to remove the permission of center to borrow the funds. and the Supreme Court has in fact promptly has referred it to a constitutional bench, where the constitutional bench has also identified that there is a mismanagement in Kerala with the funds and all that. What's this all about? See, to what extent the states can borrow the funds? Is there any limitation or any checks and imbalances on this, on borrowing of funds? Because we have seen left, right and center, all the state governments which has got regional parties to give freebies and all that, they are borrowing the funds. So, what could be the proper way of doing that? Is there, is really central is going to stop borrowing, or is there is a facility when it restricts the borrowing?
Technically, there is no limit on borrowing by the state government, except when they already borrowed something from the central government and have not repaid it. And if they want to do a second borrowing, yes, then they will have to go for the center for permission, I think under Article 360 of the Constitution. And most of the states, every state will borrow something or other from the central government, so that provision of the Constitution automatically applies. So, for any further borrowing, they have to necessarily go to the Government of India for permission, where they will see how much is the limit that has been set for them. Within that limit, how much they can borrow, how much they cannot borrow. Some of the states like West Bengal, Punjab, Kerala have been chronic fiscal profligate states, borrowing left, right and center. So, Kerala has gone to a state where when they went for borrowing, central has to automatically refuse it because it's unsustainable. That's when they have gone and questioned it in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court also has rightfully told that they have mismanaged the finances, but the constitutional issue of central permission for borrowing, they have referred it to a constitutional bench, which I am sure they will support the existing constitutional provision as such. There is definitely a need for limits of borrowing because of 2-3 reasons. Any borrowing has to be sustainable. And there are studies across the world. I mean, how much of a GDP can the borrowing be? 30%, 20%, 40%, maybe around that. But already they have gone up to 60-70%, so it's unsustainable. Second, each year out of your gross domestic product of the state or the center, how much percentage they can take? Maybe 3% is the normal idle. It has been enhanced during the COVID period. Again, it will be reduced. So, these norms are there. As long as you are within that names, there is no problem. But more importantly is the mechanizations that the Telugu states are doing, Telangana and Andhra. They have cleverly bypassed the Reserve Bank of India, started borrowing through SPVs, special purpose vehicles, corporations and others. Andhra has gone a step further and started future excise revenues discounting now and taking loan. These are very, very innovative, dangerous trends. They also need to be totally put under control. Otherwise, the finances of the states will not be in good, and it's not good for the people as such.
And the third point where I want your reflections on national issues is that BJP, in order to sustain its presence and also show its strength, is adapting a different policy for each state and all that. And now anomaly phenomenon has become a really a major trending factor in Tamil Nadu, where the young guy has been given the charge of BJP, and he is going very aggressively, and recently as in Coimbatore also the utterances has become really viral. What do you think, whether BJP's way of going is in a right path at different states? Because here also in Telangana, if you say, Bandi Sanjay was very aggressive, and in fact he is one way responsible for increasing the voting pattern of for BJP in terms of numbers and all that. And in Maharashtra, of course, 3-4 parties are there. Its strategies of BJP in different states. How do you view it?
Yeah, Annamalai should succeed both in the interests of Tamil Nadu as well as in the interests of India. If Annamalai succeeds in Tamil Nadu, it's a vindication of a model which BJP has adopted to come to power. A good model that they have adopted to come to power. If you see BJP adopting different models for different states. Karnataka, they had a strong presence. So to expand from there, they did not disturb the existing system. They played with the existing system. Existing system of what? Existing system of corruption, existing system of caste. That gave them power once, but next time they just were swept out of power. This time we'll have to see. But that system may sustain you for one term to come to power, but it will not sustain you to remain in power for a longer time. The next one is Maharashtra model. Maharashtra, it's a different model altogether because there BJP has a very strong presence, very strong presence, but there are also competing parties. So, inducing some of them to come over so that to get a majority. But Maharashtra, the one advantage for them is strong cadre, strong leader, and good leaders also. That's another plus point for them in Maharashtra. But still, they are playing the politics in a conventional way, and so far they have succeeded. But that also at one stage, they will have to come out and rely more on corruption-free good governance to come back to power beyond caste and money politics. Tamil Nadu, they chose a totally different model of going with a young, dynamic, educated, non-corrupt politician and pit him against a highly corrupt Dravidian parties. And he has taken on the responsibility very well, gone round, seen, and was able to enthuse the local population. And he has to succeed to put an end to these highly corrupt, one of the most corrupt parties in India are the Dravidian parties in Tamil Nadu. And also to show that non-corrupt good governance still can deliver politically in this country. So that's where a success of Annamalai is very important, and we wish he succeeds.
Let's hope that BJP will evolve a system of penetrating to the South India by appointing people like Annamalai. Thank you, sir. Namaste, Krishna Rao garu. We welcome you back to IYR Talks for the first week of April 2024. And before that, I want to convey our greetings to all our viewers for this new year, Telugu New Year, which we called as Ugadi, Krodhinama Samvatsara. And I have got on the national issues, 3 issues this week. The first one is that yesterday the Congress has released its manifesto. Among its manifesto, it has said first it wants to increase the reservation, the first point. And the second point is that as far as food is concerned, the MSP, minimum support price, they said they also want to increase it to the level of sustainability. And the third is what they said, they are going to also increase the cash subsidies. And the fourth point is that they said they will again go for a caste-based census across the country. Thus, apart from this, they are also now trying to, in their campaign, malign BJP, stating that if BJP is going to come to power, it is going to change the constitution completely. See, these are the issues as far as the Congress is concerned. And I think even during the Congress rule, that is the Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, and most of the other Congress ruled places, Constitution has been changed because nothing is permanent unless you change it for the benefit of the society. So, alleging that BJP is totally changed Constitution and trying to align fear in the minds of the voters, I think is wrong. So, I want your first input on this
Right.
issue.
The Congress Party manifesto looks like a promise by a company which is under insolvency, stating that I will borrow money and give you freebies. It's exactly the way Congress is today looking like. It's in a insolvency mode, bankruptcy mode, knows that they will not come back to power. Not just now, anywhere in the near future. So they can promise the moon because there's no way they are going to deliver it. First of all, cost census and increasing the reservation. In fact, this just shows how far Congress Party has come away from the ideology of its founders. During Nehru's time, if I am not wrong, the name of the person is Kelkar. There was one Kelkar commission which went into the issues of BC reservation. Nehru didn't want further divisions in the society. So he just shelved it. That's what he has done. Then this whole Mandal Commission thing was never a platform of Congress. It became a platform of Janata government between 77 to 80. When they were there only it came. And they gave it, led to a lot of social division, unrest in the country, and finally, in a very clever and proper way, P.V. Narasimha Rao has implemented it, and it has done a lot of social justice. Now is a time when we are looking beyond that in terms of growth, prosperity, sabka saath, sabka vikas. These are the slogans, and we need development, and everybody should participate in the development. Now to talk of, again, categorization, this thing, I'll do this for government jobs which are very limited, just shows the bankruptcy of the political ideology of the party. Then legal support to MSP. Who prevented you from doing it when you were in power for so long? You didn't do it because it's not practical. So now again, you are giving a impractical session. Similarly, caste distribution on a large scale. All these are, promises which they know they will not have to implement. So they can promise this guy. So I think the manifesto is just a sham. That's what I would say about the Congress manifesto. Today there is a landmark judgment by the Supreme Court in a curative petition filed by the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. The background to this is Delhi Metro Rail Corporation entered into an agreement with Anil Ambani's company, subsidiary company, Delhi Metro Express Authority or some such thing, for laying the railway line to the airport. Somewhere it could not go well, and finally the matter landed up in a arbitration where the company of Anil Ambani filed damages against the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. The award was decided in favor of the Anil Ambani company, and Delhi Metro Rail Corporation was asked to pay that amount. Delhi Metro Rail Corporation carried this in appeal to High Court, where the contention of the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation was upheld, and it was decided that nothing needs to be paid by them to the company of Anil Ambani. This again was challenged by the company of Anil Ambani in the Supreme Court, where I think in 2021 a two-judge bench of the Supreme Court upheld the arbitration order and directed that the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation pays this amount to the other company. That was an arbitration award for about 4,000 crores or so. With interest and others, it has now come up to 8,000 crores. The Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, since it was quite convinced that there was no liability on their part, they brought it in a review petition before the Supreme Court, failed there, and finally came back to the Supreme Court with a curative petition. Curative petition is not normally admitted by the Supreme Court unless there is some major issues involved and some 2-3 senior judges sign on that and then send it. But luckily this particular curative petition was admitted, and finally the Supreme Court has held that the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation need not pay any amount to the other company, and these two are very, very important, and held that the earlier judgment of two judges of the Supreme Court was led to a miscarriage of justice and was perverse in law. That's a very, very damaging comments by the Supreme Court. So if an earlier judgment is a miscarriage of justice and perverse in law, how do you fix accountability? Because after all institutions get their legitimacy, sustain, and are responsible to the republic as such through a system of accountability, and that equally applies to judiciary as well. So I think this is an issue which needs to be thought over and addressed by the Supreme Court, because if a 3-bench judge felt an order of a 2-bench judge was miscarriage of justice, time we wake up and look for how to avoid such things being repeated in future.
And on the international arena, we have, I try to pose you a combination of 3 situations, whether those 3 situations can be correlated in light of the view of the Western countries over the issue. The first one is that we have seen recently the Botswana President announcing that he will export 20,000 elephants to Germany, and immediately the Germany also they said they will ban the entry of these elephants for this trophy the presentation and all that, because they are going to hunt the elephant and cut the head and take it. So it's going to be a typical situation where already Botswana is highly elephant population is more high, and if this cannot be taken away from the country, they'll have a lot of problems. And the second thing is that recently we have seen the BBC anchor, while interviewing the President of Guyana, he said the oil exploration in Guyana is releasing a lot of emissions and is going to be a very threatening factor for equilibrium of the nature over there and all that. And he has immediately retorted, stating that the Guyana has got afforestation done in a very big way as compared to the British islands, and he said that's very, very little. So this is that, because always this Guyana and Venezuela also are the neighboring countries, and which they have got a lot of reserves in this issue. So I just want your reflections on this observation of the Western world. And the third one is that recently there is a news stating that Coal India is going to be the third polluting industry in the world. So suddenly, all of a sudden, it has raked up, and so now people are talking about pollution and then equilibrium in the nature, sustaining nature, this one and all that. How do you who see the comments of this West over these sort of things, and can you just give your view, because already for most of the industries which are doing this polluting agents in India and China, their carbon credits are in vogue and all that. So your reflections on this issue?
Yeah, these are three seemingly unrelated incidents and issues, but have a strong relationship. The Guyana President just shutting down the mouth of the BBC anchor, Botswana threatening to export 20,000 elephants to Germany, and somewhere you read in the newspaper prominently mentioning Coal India as the third biggest polluter in the world after Armaco and another company. Let's first say Guyana. The way the Guyana President retorted that BBC anchor is really credit worthy, because these fellows, especially this BBC, CNN chaps, think too much of themselves and behave like that with a very terrible arrogance, not allowing the other person to speak, and on a wrong issue with a wrong premise. What that fellow asked the Guyana President is, you are exploiting crude oil in your offshore. It will lead to so many carbon dioxide and other emissions, which will impact the climate and climate change. What are you doing about it? But the Guyana President didn't even allow him to complete his sentence. He just made him shut up and told him two things. He asked him whether he is aware Guyana has a rainforest area which is preserved by the government, which is double the size of Scotland and England put together, and which is a great carbon sink because the forest is maintained in the same way. Net to net, we will be carbon negative. That's what he was telling. And that fellow tried to put some other question. He just did not allow him to, because this is the typical way of these fellows trying to browbeat the black, the brown politicians as and when they go to their studio, but he got what he deserved. But this just highlights the double standards of the West and their hypocrisy. You do all these things, I mean, you exploit the nature, you burn the carbons, you explore and have offshore drilling wells in the North Sea, and your whole prosperity and development is based on coal and these things, fossil fuels, and now you start lecturing to others on this. So he just asked him to shut up. I mean, not just now. I remember some such thing happening with Mohammed Mahathir, that Malaysian president, way back about 30-40 years back. Some environmentalist went and told him a big lecture about rainforest preservations, this, that. He told, shut up. What was Scotland? It used to have pristine, beautiful, big forests. You cut them down all and made it barren, and you come here and lecture me about preserving the rainforest. So these double standards is something that these fellows everywhere exhibit in a very shameless manner, and this is what has been exposed by the Guyana President. Second, the Botswana issue. Botswana, incidentally, is a country which maximum elephant population in the world. So they have a real problem of elephant menace. Even in India now, Andhra itself, we see that regularly happening. Recently, I think in Chittoor, they killed a farmer. Srikakulam, it happens on a very, very large scale, spoiling the paddy fields and things like that. Botswana has this system of trophy hunting. Most of the Westerners come there, do the trophy hunting, take a license, pay the amount to Botswana, and then do the trophy hunting and take the head or something of the elephant, which in a way leads to an automatic culling of the elephant population, which is growing and is a menace to the local population. Germany says it wants to stop this trophy hunting. So that's when the Botswana replied like this. I do agree, I mean trophy hunting is a very, very bad thing from the animal point of view and not the right thing to do. In fact, you should look for a different way of limiting the elephant populations within Botswana. That's an internal problem of Botswana and they'll have to tackle it instead of relying on trophy hunting to do that as far as that is concerned. Then Coal India is the third biggest polluter. So what? I mean that should be our response, because after all, whole of West prosperity is based on fossil fuels and their exploitation. So we are at a stage where we need development. So for development you have to burn fossil fuels, there is no other way, and coal also. We are also taking care of the green energy, the solar energy, the wind energy and other things, but it has to go in a proportion. You can't suddenly cut down on the coal, especially at a stage where India is moving ahead. So pointing out this thing on such a focused area just shows the hypocrisy and double standards of the West.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving your valuable inputs on this issue.